good morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Keeping It Real. This is a time that we take to look at our things that we've talked about in our Sunday morning message and take it into a practical application in our lives. And so for this month of January, all of our talks have been focused on the freedom, on different ideas of freedom, how we experience freedom personally, how we experience it in relationships, how we experience in our local community. And then this past week we talked about how to take it out into the world. How do we experience a true sense of freedom in the world around us? How many of you have ever been in a situation where you're with a large group of people and something happens that dramatically changes the mood of the people? So for instance, I was at the airport not too long ago. I was flying back in and I had to land in Dallas, and Dallas was experiencing a ton of tornadoes at the time. And so the flight that I was on was canceled. It was delayed until the tornadoes had cleared out of the area. And what I noticed was the moment that announcement was made, I'm sitting in this, at the gate in this terminal, wait with 150, 200 people. And as soon as the flight attendants made that announcement, the gate attendants announced that, there was a palpable change in the energy. It was all of a sudden, you could feel the anxiety levels rising in people. There was anger going on, frustration, there was fear, there was a sense of resignation that, that this has been done to me and I just have to endure it kind of thing. And what I know through my spiritual work is that when I become a place of centeredness and connection, then I become a place where spirit can move through me. And I don't have to say anything, I don't have to do anything. I have to just be in this place of centered connection. And spirit has a chance to operate in whatever is around me. So that's one of the things that I often do, and that's what I did in this situation. Was I just went within, just turned within, because there was much else I could do. Fortunately, it didn't affect me terribly. I didn't have a lot of detrimental consequences because of it, but and I was probably one of the fortunate people that didn't, but I just allowed myself to become that place of centered peace. And then I started doing this practice that I had read about years ago, and I've done it several times. It's actually a Buddhist technique. It's called Tonglen, T-O-N-G-L-I-N, and it is a practice of giving and receiving. And so what we do in this practice is, in this place of centered connection that I'd already gotten myself into, I then begin to bring in those emotions that I'm feeling. And I bring them in through the top of my head, and I allow them to work through until they reach my heart center. And there in the heart center, the energy can be transformed into something that's not quite so anxiety producing. And so it gets transformed. So I breathe in anger into the top of my head. And then from my heart space, after that energy has been transformed, I breathe out peace. And I breathe in fear from the top of my head. And I allow it to be transformed in my heart center. And I breathe out calm. And I breathe in hatred. And then I breathe out love. And we can do this practice of Tonglen as long as we want to, as long as we feel the necessity for it. And we can do it once we feel that change, then we don't have to do anything else. We've become that place of centered connection where the spirit is able to work through us. And like I said, we don't have to say anything to anybody else around us. We don't have to show this in any other way. And you can begin to start to feel an ease in the people around you. That the problem isn't solved, but the intense feelings around it start to dissipate. And I think it's a fabulous practice that we can do at any time, in any situation. Maybe you're in line waiting to buy concert tickets, and all of a sudden they announce the concert is sold out. There's a lot of disappointment, there's fear, there's anger, there's frustration, there's all of these things that are going on, and we can be that place to just allow spirit to move through us. Maybe you're at a rally where somebody is speaking and they say something that is offensive. And so then you feel the audience listening to the person react to that, and you can become that place of centered peace. It takes us doing our work frequently and consistently to allow us to get to that place of peace when we ourselves are in that situation too. You know, we're in this along with everybody else that's around us. But if we can ground ourselves in that moment, find that place of connectedness within our being, then we can actually be a place where spirit can operate. And you could do something like the Tonglen, or you can just sit in silence and be that. You know, I studied Joel Goldsmith, and he says, you go into the silence and you say, "Speak, Father, thy servant heareth." You know, whatever works for you, however it shows up for you, try different techniques. You can just be that place that sits in silence and thinks the word love, thinks the word peace, thinks the word kindness, thinks the word ease, whatever that is. But grounding ourselves first in connection is the key point to it. We have to become centered and conscious of that indwelling presence. We often call this practicing the presence, and we do it throughout our day in different ways. So take some opportunity for the next week. If you have a situation where you are faced with some fear or anger or any of those emotions that we don't really particularly care to feel, if you're in that situation around somebody else, find a way to center yourself. Take a couple of conscious breaths. Repeat an affirmation. You know, whatever works for you at that moment. Allow yourself to become aligned with Spirit, and then Spirit has a place to work through you. And it does amazing and wonderful things out in the world around us. Have a great week, everyone, and we'll see you next week on Keeping It Real. Bye-bye.